Welcome back. We're going to go through Chapter 10 on foreign markets. So, obviously, if you go over to a foreign country, you have some major hurdles to overcome, and they're called liabilities of forgiveness. Some things, because it's kind of like being the new kid in school. They're used to their culture, they're used to their norms, and you're different from those. There's an institutional view that you've got to get used to all the new regulatory environment. There may be some investment barriers, and certainly there'll be cultural differences. The other thing to leverage is on your resource view, leveraging your value, your rarability, your hard to imitate in the organization you put around your product. Those will bring you resource value. So those are some of the things to overcome. Now, where do you want to enter? Well, certainly you could enter a place where there's lots of natural resources. An example would be oil in the Middle East. You could enter where you're market seeking, right? There's a large market for books to be sold in Japan. So Amazon might want to go into Japan. You could be what's called efficiency seeking. That's where you might want to take your manufacturing to a low-cost country like China or India. Or it could be innovation seeking. For example, if high tech, I might want to go to Silicon Valley or a place like Silicon Valley in a foreign country. So countries you're going to want to enter, you're either entering them for their natural resources, their large markets you want access to, some of the efficiencies of their labor, or some of their innovation. They might be a hotspot for different industries, like Silicon Valley is a hotspot for technology. Second question is when to enter. You can be a first mover, which is the person who enters the market first, and you can see here are some of the key advantages of being the first mover. You get to help shape and mold the industry. You get to have some technology leadership. You get to establish some of the barriers, be the first to relationship building. But just like there's some advantages to being a first mover, there's some advantages to be a late mover. You get to learn from the first movers. A lot of the uncertainty is resolved. You can make adaptations to the market. It's kind of like the advantages of being the first child versus the advantage of being the second child. The advantage of being first is you get to help set some of the rules and some of the tones. The advantages of being late is those rules are established. You can learn from what the first person did. Second thing is how to enter. Okay? Two ways you can enter. There's non-equity ways. That's where the host country doesn't put in an investment in. That would be exports, licensing, and franchising. Somebody else puts in the money. You say, hey, I'll sell you the recipe, and they put forth the money. Or you can take an equity position, like a joint venture or a wholly owned operations like Greenfield. Or you can do what's called an acquisition, what Walmart did in Mexico. They just went and bought the largest retailer in Mexico. So you've got where to enter is going to be based on resources, the market, the efficiencies, the innovation. When to enter is going to be based on do you want to be a first mover or a second mover. And a lot of that's based, I didn't touch on cultural distance. The larger the cultural distance is just how much difference is there between the culture you're going into versus the culture your home based is. And that gets all back to like Hostetler's power distance, uncertainty avoidance, all those that we went through in earlier chapters. Management needs to understand all these roles because obviously any of these going into foreign markets is a very large investment. So that covers Chapter 10. Where you'd enter, when you'd enter, how you'd enter, and some of the advantages and disadvantages. Have any questions? Let me know. Have a great week.